What's going on, everybody? GemMint here, back again with another top 10 video. I figured what better time than to do a Wolverine and Deadpool top 10 omnibus video. So I highlighted books from both characters and books that they may have appeared in together, maybe team books. Do me a favor and hit that like button on the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as we jump into the number 10 book on the list, Deadpool and Cable. Now, this isn't my favorite omnibus. That's why it made number 10 on the list, but you can't deny having this huge run jam-packed into just one book had to make its way onto this list. This book collects the entire 50-issue run by Fabian Nicieza and Dan Slott, along with Riley Brown. You've got artists like Mark Brooks on there, Patrick Zurcher, Lan Medina, Ron Lim, and more. And even though Wolverine and Deadpool have a bromance, the original bromance has to be with Wade and Cable. It's truly your comic book odd couple. You've got the merc with the mouth who will take any job. Nothing is too dirty for Deadpool to get his hands into as long as he's getting paid. And then you've got the hope of X-Men's future, the son of Cyclops and Madeline Pryor, coming back in time to try to set things right. In this run, they go up against a face-changing virus. It impacts Cable's teleportation device, so he's stuck here in this timeline, and he's forced to team up with our pal Deadpool. Cable sets this run off with a bang, creating a floating island in the sky and declaring its own sovereignty, creating his own country. And as you can imagine, every other nation around the world doesn't see this country as the new utopia. We've already got to see this bromance take place in Deadpool 2, so enough of Deadpool and Cable. Let's move on to the next book on the list. And this one is more of a Wolverine omnibus. It's Wolverine and the X-Men by Jason Aaron. This is another self-contained omnibus that collects the entire run. There are 42 issues plus an annual, although it does skip out on issues 36 and 37. There are two Jason Aaron omnibus that prelude this, and you could read them leading up to it, but it's not required reading. It's actually more required to read X-Men Schism and maybe even Avengers vs. X-Men, as this was post the breakup of the X-Men. So you had Uncanny X-Men, and then you had Wolverine and the X-Men. This book sees Logan as the headmaster, so it's more of an X-Men book than it is a Wolverine book, but I felt that it still met the criteria for this video. You get great characters in here, even a child version of one of the Brood. You've got Kid Gladiator, my favorite, Kid Omega, Quentin Quire, and Dupe. Everybody loves Dupe. It's a fun series that takes place in Xavier's school for gifted youngsters. There's danger around every corner. And you had Krakoa before the Krakoa era kicked off. It was fun to see Krakoa, a mutant, as part of this school and interacting with the characters. A little bit more on the wacky side, but still have a soft spot for Wolverine and the X-Men. All right, now let's bring it back to some traditional Wolverine goodness. Number 8 on the list here is going to be Wolverine Volume 4. So even though there are 3 volumes of Wolverine prior to this one, this is where it really kicks it up a notch. It continues with his ongoing series, giving us issues 60 through 75. There are a ton of graphic novels here. You have Wolverine Inner Fury, Wolverine Killing, Wolverine Global Jeopardy. You have Wolverine and the Punisher Damaging Evidence, which is a 3-issue miniseries. It collects the 4-issue Sabretooth miniseries. You get the Spider-Man Punisher Sabretooth Designer Jeans. You get X-Men issue 25. Plus there's some Marvel Comics Presents material, issues 109 through 142, and Marvel Holiday Special issue 2. My favorite issues in here have to be the Marvel Comics Presents, the Venom and Wolverine team-ups. 2 of my favorite characters. The Sam Keith artwork just takes me right back to my childhood. It reminds me of the stuff that he did with the Max. It's got that same vibe, even in the Savage Land. And there's other great artists on here as well, from Bill Sienkiewicz to Mark Texeira. Larry Hama continues writing that original ongoing series. Wolverine teaming back up with Maverick and Sabretooth, that initial Weapon X team that he was on before he became an X-Men. And of course, this would end off with the Fatal Attraction storyline, a story that we just got a glimpse of in the X-Men 97 animated series, where Magneto rips the adamantium out of Wolverine, leaving him with a regular bone skeleton and bone claws. All right, guys, number 7 on my list, we're going back to a Deadpool book, and we're going to go to what some would consider the definitive Deadpool run. This is the Deadpool Omnibus by Joe Kelly. This would contain the first 33 issues of this new ongoing series. A new writer tackles the character and really writes a character-defining run. So much of the Deadpool movies was borrowed from this run here, his origin story, his motivations, his blind roommate Al. But it's so much more comic booky than the movie, especially with Ed McGuinness's bold lines. He has such a distinct art style that you can tell it's him a mile away. Deadpool gets the chance to become a hero in this book when the interdimensional organization known as Lando, Luckman, and Lake tells him that he's destined to save the planet. He'll team up with members of the X-Force, but have to go up against foes like Taskmaster, the Vamp, Typhoid Mary, Death Trap, Kraven the Hunter, and more. This is the run that really took that sarcastic mercenary assassin and turned him to the merc with the mouth. So there's 4 volumes of the Deadpool minibuses, which collect Deadpool miniseries, as there were a ton of them. This is volume 1 that collects Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, Deadpool Killustrated, Deadpool Kills Deadpool, Night of the Living Deadpool, and Deadpool vs. Carnage. These are all 4-issue miniseries that I recently read and reviewed. I do have a video for it on the channel if you want to check out the full spoilery video, but I think it's an important book to read now because I feel like they're going to borrow at least themes from these runs for the upcoming Deadpool and Wolverine. Deadpool looks like he's going to be going through the multiverse via the TVA to kill the Fox universe. So not to say this is going to be a direct adaptation, but I think they're going to be borrowing elements from this, and it's just a great run. All of these miniseries are super fun, and they all do connect together. All right, guys, we're halfway through this top 10 list, and I know a lot of you guys already know where you can pick up Omnis if you live in the States. But ever since I started this channel, I've had international folks in the comments asking where is the best place for them to buy Omnibus, and now I've got an answer for you. comicsbugle.com. If you're in the EU, they're offering free shipping, no taxes or import fees. They have already heavily discounted books on stuff that's already in stock and on pre-order. And what's great about their site is you pre-order now and you don't have to pay until it's ready to ship. They have fast shipping, eco-friendly, bomb-proof packaging, and customer service guaranteed to respond to you within 24 hours. Plus, if you use code GEMMINT at checkout, you'll save yourself $2. So make sure to check out comicsbugle.com if you're in the EU or if you're overseas and you're looking to pick up some Omnis. All right, with that out the way, we are back to the top 10 list, and number 5 on the list, we have Wolverine Volume 5. Volume 4 is where it really kicks off, and Volume 5 is where they kick it into high gear. We're post-Fatal Attraction. We're dealing with the Phalanx Covenant. We have Wolverine and Deadpool's first battle in issue 88. You have Adam Kubert joining the run and giving us the monumental 100th issue. With Wolverine's adamantium removed, we see him vulnerable for the first time. It's wreaking havoc on his healing factor and is transforming him to more of a feral state. Wolverine hightails it to Canada to link up with Alpha Flight to lick his wounds and try to recover from what's happened to him, with Lady Deathstrike and Cyber hot on his trail. Wolverine takes one of the worst beatings of his life. Not only does he have to go up against Deadpool, but he runs back into his old nemesis Sabretooth. He goes up against Juggernaut, and right when you think it couldn't get any worse, he's got to deal with Apocalypse. Collecting issues 76 through 101 of the ongoing series, it has annual 95. More Marvel Comics Presents issues with 150 and 151. You have Cable 16 and more graphic novels. Wolverine Evolution, Wolverine and Nick Fury, Scorpio Rising, Ghost Rider, Wolverine Punisher, The Dark Design, Wolverine, A Night of Terror, Wolverine and Gambit Victims, which is the 4-issue miniseries. Plus, it's got Uncanny X-Men 332, Logan Path of the Warlord, and material from Marvel Comics Presents 152 through 155. Some great stuff in Volume 5 of Wolverine, and funny enough, it made number 5 on the list. All right, number 4 brings us back to another Deadpool omnibus, and this is Deadpool Beginnings. Man, this is a great book. This collects Deadpool's first appearance. He showed up in New Mutants 98. Then the next time we would see him would be in X-Force issue 2. And this collects all of his early appearances, X-Force 11, 15, 47, 56. You get the 2 Deadpool 4-issue miniseries, the self-titled miniseries, and the first one, The Circle Chase. He also shows up in early issues of Nomad, Secret Defenders, Heroes for Hire, and Wolverine, of course, with issue 88, which is also collected in Wolverine Volume 5. It's collected here as is their first battle, and their battle in 154 and 155 is also collected in this omnibus. This is the essential Deadpool omnibus if you want to see where he started, so you know where he's going. See, I'm more of a sucker for the first appearances and getting the origin of these characters, but high up on my list is Wolverine by Mark Millar, and this is mainly because of Old Man Logan. Old Man Logan took place in the 2003 volume of Wolverine between issues 66 and 72, but this also collects a run that Mark Millar did prior to that, issues 20 through 32, and it has the Wolverine Old Man Logan Giant Size issue 1. Obviously, Logan, the movie, was heavily inspired by this, and it looks like they're going to borrow from this again with what we've seen in the trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine with that deceased giant man as a setting in the movie. Before we get to Old Man Logan, Enemy of the State is the run that I was talking about that comes prior to that. Wolverine actually dies in this run, and that's just where it starts. He's resurrected by the Hand. He's become a weapon for Hydra. He's then turned loose on the Marvel Universe. Then we get to Old Man Logan, which takes place 50 years in the future, and it's not just Wolverine who has aged and has become a pacifist. They have so much character development with supporting cast. Think about the Hulk, or even Hawkeye, for example, and Tyrannosaurus Rex symbiotes. Who could forget about that venomized T-Rex? Old Man Logan is such an iconic storyline, and it's only a few issues. If you don't read it in the omnibus, pick it up however you can read it, whether it's a trade paperback or you download it online or whatever. Definitely worth checking out. High up on my list, mainly because of that storyline. All right, guys, we're getting there. Number 2 is Wolverine Volume 1. What did I say? I'm a sucker for those first appearances, for the beginnings of these characters, and this is the essential Wolverine Omnibus. Not only does it collect his first cameo and first full appearance in Incredible Hulk 180 and 181, it also contains 182, which is really a Hulk story that Wolverine just happens to show up in, but it's still fun to see Wolverine for the very first time. But what it also collects is one of my favorite storylines. The Marvel Comics presents issues 1 through 10, the Barry Windsor Smith Weapon X origin story. So this came out way after Hulk 181, but it's put first in this omnibus as this is the definitive origin story for how Logan became Wolverine. The art is incredible, the coloring, the storytelling, and it doesn't stop there because not only do we get his origin, his first appearance, we get his first solo series, which is an iconic 4-issue miniseries by the great Frank Miller. This shows Wolverine going from more of a wild card to somebody who learns discipline in the ways of the samurai. He does it for love, and it really helps define this character for what we would see in years to come. You get Chris Claremont's touch on here as you have issues from Uncanny X-Men, issues 172 and 173. You get the Kitty Pryde and Wolverine 6-issue miniseries. Captain America Annual 8, the classic battle between Wolverine and Cap. Speaking of classic battles, you get the Spider-Man vs. Wolverine one-shot, which I absolutely love. It collects the Punisher War Journal 6 and 7, Jim Lee doing Punisher and Wolvie. It goes back to Incredible Hulk with issue 340, the incredible Todd McFarlane drawn battle of Wolverine vs. Hulk. And then you get the first 10 issues of his ongoing series. So man, this book is jam-packed with such essential Wolverine reading, it had to make it super high up on my list. But it didn't make it to number 1. This video is brought to you by Bad Music, issue number 1. Following the battle at the Ninja Funk Dojo and the capture of BB, Bad Music retreats to their headquarters at the Nexus. With the love of Laser Wolf's life as irresistible bait, there's no doubt in Queen Bad's mind that her nemesis will come knocking and she's ready for them. Will Laser Wolf, JPG McFly, and Wolfgang see the trap for what it is or run headlong into disaster? Find out in Ninja Funk Bad Music number 1, hitting your LCS this October. And I had trouble kind of figuring out which is going to be my number 1 book. Is it a Wolverine omnibus? Is it a Deadpool omnibus? And then this book came into my eyes and it just felt right. It's neither one of them, but it's a book that they are both a part of. They are both part of the Uncanny X-Force, and the Rick Remender Omnibus is not only my favorite out of this list, it's one of my favorite omnibus in the entire collection. I've talked about this book multiple times. I've recently showcased it in a X-Men spin-off omnibus video. Being one of my favorite books, it's bound to show up in others. It collects the entire 35-issue run, plus the .1 issues. It also has material from Wolverine Road to Hell, All New Wolverine Saga, and X-Men Spotlight. Rick Remender does such a great job on this team, and specifically with Deadpool, he really balances out the initial Rob Liefeld, Fabian Nicieza Deadpool, and the Joe Kelly version, and he finds some middle ground there to give him a serious tone. He's definitely a lethal assassin, but he's also funny. And he doesn't overdo it in this book. Jerome Opeña, Assad Ribic, Phil Noto, Billy Tan, Mark Brooks, Greg Tocchini, they do an amazing job on this book. The art is incredible. The color palettes are great. I love the whole pinkish purple with the X-Force gray, black, and red. And even though this is a Deadpool and Wolverine video, I think the characters that really stand out to me besides Deadpool are Archangel and Phantom X. This one really made me a fan of Phantom X. I wasn't really too familiar with the character beforehand. Then you have Archangel and his relationship with Psylocke. You have Nightcrawler. You have the Deathlock storyline, which is incredible. I've always been a fan of Deathlock ever since his 90s series and had that foil cover for issue #1. But I always mention they have a moral dilemma here. They have a reincarnated Apocalypse, and they go back and forth on whether it's ethical or not to kill him so he won't become the evil mutant that we all know. But that's just the first arc. There are so many incredible stories in this 35-issue run, and I love how it showcases both Wolverine and Deadpool. So there we have it, my top 10 Wolverine and Deadpool omnibus. Let me know what you thought about this list in the comments down below. Which one of these are your favorites? Are you looking forward to the Deadpool and Wolverine movie? Sound off. I appreciate you guys watching, and stay minty fresh. Peace.